My name is Paul Mills. I've recently started a tax consulting and education business, and over the last 6 months I've been doing some work with Padmore. Today I want to talk about business structures that are available in Australia, and some of the key features that we look for when we're thinking about business structures are tax, succession planning, asset protection, the ability to introduce new investors, and the complexity of those structures. There's really 4 key structures that we see used in Australia, and they would be sole traders, partnerships, companies and trusts. You can also have a joint venture, but those 4 are the main ones. So I want to touch briefly on each of those. The sole trader structure, probably its biggest disadvantage is the lack of limitation of liability. So you don't have the asset protection there, but it does have the advantage of lower costs. From a tax perspective, the tax is the responsibility of that investor or sole trader. So tax would generally be at marginal rates. In a partnership structure, what we have is the sharing of profits. So that could be mum and dad investors, a partnership in that sense, or 2 business owners coming together to share in profits. Again, that does not have asset protection in the form of limited liability, but it does allow tax benefits in the sense of flow-through taxation to the partners themselves, and on top of that, any tax losses that are incurred in the early stages of operation would also flow through to those investors. The most common structure that we would see in Australia is the company structure. And the company structure's best feature is that it offers asset protection via limited liability. It's also a separate entity from a taxation perspective, so it will be taxed at either the standard 30% rate or a 27.5% rate if you meet the base rate entity requirements. The imputation system in Australia also allows the tax benefits or underlying tax paid in the company to pass through to investors or shareholders via franking credits. One issue though with the corporate structure is that any tax losses incurred by the company are trapped in that company and only available for future use against profits derived by that company, subject to meeting certain conditions, being continuity of ownership test and same business test. The corporate structure does have some additional setup costs and ongoing costs. You'll certainly need your articles of incorporation and association, and your ASIC registration costs, and also legal fees would be an additional ongoing and setup costs as well. The trust structure is another common feature in the Australian landscape, and that system or structure offers taxpayers the ability to have both flow-through treatment to beneficiaries and also limited liability if the trust structure is set up using a corporate trustee. With the trust structure, particularly if you have a discretionary trust, the trustee has the discretion to pass through income to beneficiaries as it sees fit. So if you like, it's a form of income splitting. Like the company structure, if losses are incurred in the early stages of operation, those losses are trapped in the trust, subject to the earning of future profits, as well as certain tests that need to be met in order to use those losses. So in short, in the Australian business landscape, there's 4 key structures: sole traders, partnerships, companies and trusts. It's imperative when you're setting up your business that you select the appropriate structure for you. Now that structure can change over time, but it's important to get the right structure at your different business stages.